Ever wonder why billionaires spend millions on bunkers just to go insane inside them? Warning, it isn't the radiation that kills you first, it's the quiet. It's the deafening silence of your mind. The bunker isn't a fortress. It's a coffin with ventilation. 90% of you will break before the first harvest because you didn't pack a sanity kit. Let's look at the dark math of underground madness. Section 1. The sensory void. Your brain evolved for millions of years to process wind, sun, and dirt. In a hole you have humming LEDs and recycled farts. It's living inside a computer's fan. Post-apocalyptic science time. Without external sensory input, the brain starts hallucinating to fill the gaps. By month 3, you'll be having deep conversations with your canned beans. Unwise. This is the white room effect. Total isolation in a sterile environment causes the prefrontal cortex to shrivel. You're not just bored. You are literally losing the hardware for logic. Dark humor reality. You'll be so desperate for a new sound that the rhythmic dripping of a leaky pipe will start sounding like a heavy metal concert. And you'll be the only one moshing. Survival hack. You need texture therapy. If your bunker is all smooth plastic and steel, your brain starves. You need rough wood, wool, or even a pet rock to remind your skin that it's alive. Most people fail because they think, I have 500 cans of tuna, I'm good. No, you have 500 cans of depression. Nutrition keeps the heart beating, but variety keeps the mind from snapping. Let's talk about skin hunger. Humans need touch. If you're solo in a bunker, your nervous system begins to fray. You'll start hugging your water heater just to feel some radiant warmth. The horizon problem is real. Underground, your eyes never focus more than 10 feet away. This leads to eye strain and a psychological claustrophobia that feels like a physical weight. If you don't have a fake window or a screen showing the outdoors, your brain thinks it's trapped in a cave. And humans didn't leave the caves just to die in a more expensive version of one. The air is the enemy. Recycled air lacks the negative ions found in nature. You'll feel a constant low-level irritability. It's like a permanent case of Mondays, but with more radiation. DIY hack. Grow something, anything, even a patch of moss. The smell of dirt releases geosmin, which tells your primitive lizard brain that the world isn't actually dead outside. Dark humor. The first thing to go isn't your hygiene. It's your sense of humor. When you stop finding the apocalypse funny, that's when you're officially in the collapse zone. Science says we need blue light to regulate mood. In a bunker, you're either in 24/7 fluorescent hell or darkness. This destroys your dopamine levels faster than a social media ban. If you haven't painted your walls colors other than institutional gray, you've already failed. Color triggers emotional responses. Gray just triggers a desire to stop existing. Hallucinations usually start with movement in your peripheral vision. Shadows that dance. In a bunker, you'll spend hours hunting a spider that doesn't actually exist. Happy hunting! Audiovisual monotony is a torture technique for a reason. 180 days of the same walls will turn even the most stoic prepper into a sobbing mess. Your bunker is a sensory deprivation tank. The quiet room experiment showed people would rather give themselves electric shocks than be alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. Now imagine 15 months. How's that shock feel? You need a noise library. Record the sound of rain, traffic, and birds before the world ends. If you don't, the only sound you'll have is your own heartbeat. And it's too loud. Science fact. Isolation increases inflammatory markers in the blood. You are literally making yourself physically sick by being alone. Loneliness is as toxic as a leaky reactor. Dark humor. The good news is, if you do go crazy, you won't realize you're crazy. You'll just think the canned beans are being rude. And honestly, they always were. Section 1 takeaway. Fill your bunker with life, color, and noise. If it looks like a hospital wing, you'll end up as a patient. Sterile is for surgery, not for living. But sensory deprivation is just the appetizer. The real killer is when you lose your place in time. That's when the shadow people really start to move in. Are you ready to talk about the circadian collapse? Because if you can't tell 2 a.m. from 2 p.m., your brain is going to reboot itself. And you might not like the new operating system. Time is a ghost in the bunker. Without the rising sun, your internal clock doesn't just slow down, it shatters. Welcome to Section 2. The circadian collapse, where Tuesday becomes a myth. Your body relies on blue light to suppress melatonin. Without it, your brain enters a state of permanent twilight. You'll be wide awake at 4 a.m. and a complete zombie by noon. It's biological chaos. Post-apocalyptic science. When the circadian rhythm breaks, your cortisol levels spike. You're constantly in fight or flight mode, but there's nothing to fight except your own reflection. Dark humor. You'll start eating breakfast at midnight and dinner at dawn. Eventually, you'll just call it the feeding because names of days have as much meaning as a screen door on a submarine. Bunker insomnia is a special kind of hell. It's not just being awake. It's being trapped in a vibration of anxiety while the silence of the earth above presses down on your chest. Survival hack. You need a light box. If you don't have a Hilux SAD lamp, you're doomed to depression. You need to blast your retinas with 10,000 lux every morning to trick the beast. Routine is your only leash on reality. If you stop shaving, stop cleaning, or start sleeping in your clothes, you've invited the collapse inside. The mess in the room is the mess in your head. In a total light-out scenario, your body defaults to a free-running cycle. Surprisingly, humans tend to drift toward a 25-hour day. You'll eventually be out of sync with every other human. Dark humor. At least being out of sync means you won't have to talk to your annoying bunker mates. You'll be having breakfast while they're dreaming about the world ending again. Vitamin D deficiency will turn your bones to glass and your mood to lead. Without UV exposure, your body can't absorb calcium. You're essentially becoming a brittle, sad ghost. DIY hack. If you have a UV bulb for a reptile tank, use it. A few minutes a day can stop your teeth from falling out. Just try not to develop a craving for crickets. Time dilation is the final boss. When nothing happens, the brain stops recording landmarks. A week feels like a year, but when you look back, the whole month feels like a single afternoon. To fight this, you need a mechanical heartbeat, a loud ticking clock, not digital. You need the physical sound of seconds passing to anchor your consciousness to the present. Dark humor. The ticking might drive you crazy, but at least it's a different kind of crazy than the talking to your toenails kind of crazy. Choose your insanity wisely. Without a weekend, your work ethic dies. In a bunker, every day is Monday. You must invent holidays. National Canned Peach Day isn't a joke. It's a psychological necessity. Science fact. Long-term isolation in caves shows people lose track of time by up to 40%. They think they've been down for an hour when it's been 3. Your internal watch is a liar. Dopamine crashes are inevitable. When there's no new, there's no reward. Your brain stops trying. This is why people stop maintaining life support systems. They just don't care. Survival hack. Micro goals. Don't plan for 6 months. Plan for the next 10 minutes. I will clean this specific bolt. Small wins prevent total systemic psychological failure. The 3-month wall is famous in polar research. It's when the novelty wears off and the reality of "this is my life now" sets in. Most bunker suicides happen at this mark. Dark humor. If you make it to month 4, congratulations. You've officially become a mole person. Start working on your squint and your lack of social skills. You're doing great. Your eyes will physically change. Without long-distance focal points, your eye muscles weaken. When you finally go outside, the world will be a blurry, blinding nightmare. Post-apocalyptic science. Blue light filters are your friend at night. If you use screens, kill the blue light after 8 p.m., or you'll never hit REM sleep. And REM is where sanity lives. Routine, light management, and mechanical timekeeping. These are the gears of your bunker mind. If one stops, the whole clockwork of your soul grinds to a halt. But managing time is easy compared to managing people. Because once you fix your clock, you have to look at the person sitting across from you. And they look delicious. Are you ready for section 3, the social friction? Because the only thing more dangerous than being alone in a hole is being trapped in one with someone you used to love. Hell is other people, Sartre said. He was right, but he never spent 6 months in a concrete tube with a guy who whistles through his nose. Welcome to section 3, the social friction. In a bunker, personality quirks aren't cute anymore. They are tactical threats. That weird laugh or the way your partner chews their canned ham will eventually trigger a primal rage. Science calls this behavioral spillover. In tight spaces, every action affects everyone else. There is no way. You are constantly breathing someone else's filtered exhaust. Privacy is the first casualty. When you can hear your bunker mate's heartbeat through the drywall, your brain loses the ability to relax. You are always on stage and it's exhausting. Dark humor reality. You'll start calculating exactly how much extra oxygen you have if Dave suddenly stopped breathing. It's not murder, it's just survival math, right? Misophonia, the hatred of specific sounds, reaches a fever pitch underground. The sound of a spoon hitting a bowl will eventually sound like a gunshot. Your nerves are raw wire. DIY hack. Create visual silencers. Use heavy blankets or plywood to create zones where you literally cannot see each other. If you can't see them, they don't exist. Hopefully. The leader role is a death trap. If you take charge, you get blamed for the bad food. If you don't, you're a victim of someone else's idiocy. It's a lose-lose in a tin can. Status anxiety doesn't disappear just because the world ended. You'll fight over the good chair or who gets to use the one working light bulb. Tiny kingdoms for tiny kings. Post-apocalyptic science. Social density leads to increased levels of adrenaline. You are physically prepared for a fight 24/7. This causes heart palpitations and hair loss. Smell is the invisible aggressor. Humans are pungent. In a bunker, you will learn the scent of everyone's fear, sweat, and poor diet. It's a sensory assault that never ends. Dark humor. You know it's bad when you start looking forward to the weekly CO2 scrubber maintenance, because it's the only time you get to stick your head in a noisy vent. Conflict resolution becomes impossible. You can't walk it off when the walk is 4 feet long. Arguments over a lost sock can escalate into a full-scale civil war by noon. The silent treatment is a common bunker weapon. But in a 10 by 10 room, it just creates a thick, suffocating atmosphere of resentment that you could cut with a combat knife. Beware the secret hoarder. Someone is always hiding an extra chocolate bar or a clean pair of underwear. When found, this will cause more drama than a reality TV finale. Shared psychosis or folie à deux can happen. If one person starts seeing shadow people in the vents, eventually, the whole group will be hunting ghosts together. DIY hack. Scheduled silence. Force everyone to be quiet for 2 hours a day. No talking, no tapping, no existing. It's the only way to lower the group's collective blood pressure. Groupthink is the opposite danger. You'll all agree to do something stupid like opening the door to check the weather, just because nobody wants to be the one to disagree. The hero archetype is the most annoying. The guy who wants to ration his own food to save the others usually just ends up fainting onto the air filtration system. Dark humor. Romance in a bunker is like a Greek tragedy, but with more body odor. Your soulmate will quickly become the person who stole your last bit of toilet paper. The stink eye is a real physical sensation here. You will feel the weight of your bunkermate's gaze on the back of your neck while you sleep. They are judging your snoring. Cabin fever isn't just boredom. It's bunker rage. It's a sudden violent urge to break something, usually the person closest to you, just to see a different outcome. Managing the alpha personality is key. If someone tries to dominate the space, the group must democratically or sneakily neutralize them before they waste the batteries. Section 3 takeaway. If you can't live with yourself, you definitely can't live with 3 other versions of yourself. Empathy is a luxury that runs out faster than clean water. But what happens when the voices stop? When the people are gone and it's just you? That's section 4. The solitude paradox, where your best friend is a shadow. Welcome to section 4. The solitude paradox. If you think being alone is better than Dave whistling, wait until the only voice you hear is the one inside your own skull. It's a loud place. Humans are social mirrors. We know who we are by seeing our reflection in others. In solo isolation, that mirror breaks. You begin to wonder if you actually exist or if you're just a dream. Post-apocalyptic science. The brain hates silence so much it will invent phantom sounds. You'll hear footsteps in the hall or a radio playing in the vent. Your mind is just bored. This leads to the Wilson effect. You'll anthropomorphize your equipment. You'll apologize to the toaster and get genuinely offended when the flashlight batteries die on you. Language is a use it or lose it skill. After 90 days of silence, your vocal cords atrophy and your syntax slips. You'll start grunt thinking. You're literally devolving into a caveman. DIY hack. Mirror therapy. Talk to yourself in the mirror for 10 minutes a day. Use your full name. Describe your day. It sounds insane, but it's the only way to keep the self intact. Dark humor reality. The worst part of arguing with yourself is that you always know exactly what the other guy is going to say. and he's still a total jerk about the last protein bar. The parietal lobe handles social sensing. When it starves, it creates the third man factor. You'll feel a presence standing right behind you, just out of sight, forever. Solo bunker life is a slow-motion car crash of the ego. Without an audience, you stop performing humanity. You'll eat with your hands and stop wearing pants by week 3. Science fact: loneliness triggers the same neural pathways as physical pain. Being alone in a hole literally feels like a constant low-grade toothache in your soul. DIY hack: read aloud, not in your head out loud. The sound of a human voice, even your own, stabilizes the auditory cortex. Read the back of a soup can if you have to. Eventually, the concept of me versus the room blurs. This is object self-merging. You don't just live in the bunker. You feel like you are the bunker. And you're leaky. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is elevated in 100% of solitary survivors. It's like your body is keeping the engine idling at 5,000 RPM while the car is parked in a garage. Dark humor. On the bright side, you're finally the smartest, funniest, and best-looking person in the room. Too bad the only person who knows it is a schizophrenic shadow. You need a routine for 2. Act as if someone is watching. Set the table. Say, "Excuse me." Maintaining the illusion of society prevents the reality of madness. The social default network in your brain stays active, even when you're alone. It's designed to solve social problems. Without people, it starts solving problems that don't exist. DIY hack: keep a diary, but write it to a specific person. Dear Sarah ... double quotes. Even if Sarah is dust, writing to a you keeps your brain in social mode. It's a tether to life. The silence of the pipes is a heavy weight. When the air recycler hums, it's a companion. When it stops, the silence feels like it's trying to crush your eardrums from the outside. You'll lose the ability to read facial expressions. After months of looking at nothing, your brain prunes the neural connections for empathy. You're becoming a biological robot. Dark humor. You can finally have that fashion show with all your tactical gear. Dress up like a wasteland king. The audience of dust bunnies thinks you look fabulous. The primal scream is a necessary release. Every few days, just let it rip. If you don't let the pressure out, it'll turn into a primal whimper, and that's much harder to fix. Science says isolation causes dendritic atrophy. Your brain cells literally lose their branches. You're not just losing your mind. You're losing the connections that hold it together. The danger of the void is that it's seductive. Eventually, you'll stop wanting to leave. You'll become a part of the bunker's geology, a human stalactite in a metal cave. But there's one final stage. The stage where the hallucinations stop being funny and start giving orders. Section 5. The cognitive exit, where the door finally opens. Are you ready for the end? Because 90% of people fail not because they ran out of food, but because they forgot why they wanted to live in the first place. Let's finish this. Welcome to the end. Section 5. The cognitive exit. This is when your brain decides the bunker is no longer a shield, but a digestive system slowly melting your soul into liquid despair. Science calls this the fugue state. You stop being a person and become a series of automated responses. You're basically a biological Roomba with a beard and a canned ham addiction. The danger is the door. After 6 months, the handle starts calling to you. It whispers that the radiation is gone or that dying outside is better than living in this concrete tomb. Dark humor. If the door starts talking to you, don't listen. Doors are notorious liars. They only want you to leave so they can finally have some peace and quiet. Trust the sensors, not the wood. DIY hack. The latch lock. Tape a picture of your family or a beautiful forest over the bunker door. It creates a psychological barrier between you and a fatal, impulsive mistake. Post-apocalyptic science. Agoraphobia, the fear of open spaces, sets in after long isolation. You want to leave, but the thought of a sky without a ceiling makes you want to vomit. Your pupils are stuck in cave mode. Stepping out into a sunny apocalypse without high-end UV protection will literally sear your retinas. You'll be a blind, helpless king of ash. Your lungs have lived in a filtered bubble. The first breath of unfiltered, dust-heavy outside air will feel like inhaling a box of hot needles. It's a brutal, painful system reboot. Dark humor. You've spent months worrying about the end, only to realize that the middle was the part that actually broke you. The end is just the paperwork and the funeral. Most people fail because they didn't train for the re-entry. They sprint out the door and collapse from sensory overload within 10 minutes. Survival is a slow, agonizing crawl. The exit strategy requires a week of preparation. Dim your lights. Stop talking to the toaster. Start eating with a fork again. Rebuild the human before you meet others. If you don't, you'll meet other survivors and they'll shoot you because you're barking at their shoes. Manners are a survival trait. Don't be the feral, rabid guy in the hole. Science fact: the hippocampus, the brain's navigation center, atrophies in bunkers. You will literally get lost in your own backyard because your 3D mapping software is corrupted. DIY hack: draw a map of your neighborhood from memory every week. It keeps those spatial neurons firing. If you can't remember where the park is, you're not ready to leave the hole. The cognitive exit isn't just a physical move. It's a mental choice to stop being a prepper and start being a rebuilder. One hides in fear. The other heals in hope. Which are you? 90% fail because they chose the bunker mindset. They became obsessed with the wall instead of the world. They traded their humanity for a secure perimeter and a shelf of beans. Dark humor. If you're in the 10% who survived, congratulations. Your prize is a world with no internet, no pizza, and everyone smells like a wet dog. You won. Yay for you. To keep your mind, remember the 3 pillars: routine for the body, light for the brain, and the illusion of us for the soul. Master these or the concrete hole wins. The post-apocalypse isn't a movie. It's a long, boring marathon through a dark tunnel. Don't run out of breath in the first mile by letting your brain eat itself out of boredom. Final science tip: magnesium and omega-3 south. If your brain doesn't have the chemical building blocks to fix itself, no amount of mirror therapy will save you from the darkness. We've covered the sensory void, the circadian collapse, social friction, the solitude paradox, and the cognitive exit. Your psychological bug-out bag is now fully packed. Don't let your bunker become your tomb. Use the light. Talk to yourself, and remember that the beans aren't your friends. They're just calories. Stay objective and stay cold. The mindset of the survivor is simple. I am more than this hole. Repeat it until you believe it. Because if you don't believe it, the concrete will swallow you whole. Thanks for enduring this psychological reality check. Your brain is your most expensive piece of gear. Don't let it rust in the damp dark. Stay frosty, not frozen, survivors. Now, be honest. How many months would you last before you started naming your spoons? Let me know in the comments. I'll be here, talking to my lamp. See you topside.